Now, the second covenant in this world now that is promised to endure through the Noahic Covenant is the Abrahamic Covenant. And in Genesis 12, 1 through 3, we see the foundation of this covenant promise. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go forth from your country and from your relatives and from your father's house to the land which I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and so you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth will be blessed." So this initial promise, now I want you to note the very end, is a promise that all the families of the earth will be blessed in Abraham. In other words, and we sometimes fail to see this, especially in American evangelicalism over the last 150 years. This is a global promise. It is a global promise. It is not a limited promise to one nation. This is a promise that every family, all families on the face of the earth will be blessed through Abraham. All peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations are part of God's kingdom program. And this is stated from this very outset in Genesis 12, verse 3. Just like Adam was to bring the kingdom of God to the entire earth and rule and subdue it, and just like God promises the entire earth will be maintained until his kingdom program is finished, now he promises that in Abraham, the entire earth will experience his blessing. God's kingdom program that started in Genesis 1 will proceed through Abraham and his offspring. In Genesis 15, God promises Abram an heir, an offspring. And then in chapter 17, God gives Abram the sign of the covenant, circumcision. He changes Abram's name to Abraham. He changes Sarai's name to Sarah. And he promises in verse 6 of Genesis 17 that kings will come forth from Abraham. This pivotal chapter, Genesis 17, in the story of the kingdom of God shows how God's plan will progress from this point forward in bringing his kingdom purpose to pass. God has chosen Abraham. Abraham will be the father of many nations. Many nations. And his descendants will be kings, and they will possess an everlasting kingdom that is global, that encompasses the entire world. Romans 4:17 explains that as well. And God swears this to Abraham by himself, ensuring that God himself will uphold this covenant. And so this becomes a critical milestone in God's covenant plan to bring about the consummation of his kingdom's victory over the domain of darkness. In fact, these promises of a king through Abraham, this royal line, is reiterated in Genesis 49, Numbers 24, Deuteronomy 17, again and again in the Torah, that God is going to bring his king to reign over the world through Abraham. Now, I think one interesting thing as you read through the book of Genesis, and maybe it doesn't strike you as much because you know a lot more than Genesis as you're reading through, but you get to the end of Genesis and we don't have a king yet. And one of the surprising things about that is as you read through the book of Genesis, you know who does have kings? The Edomites. Esau. He has kings that come forth from him, and there's kings reigning, but we don't have any kings from Abraham through the book of Genesis. And then when we get to the book of Exodus, we don't find Israel ruling over the world. We find them in subjugation as slaves in Egypt to a godless king.